Here's what's cooking on an all-new sports football show. We've got college football matchups to discuss, NFL picks for this week, and our Righteous Felon full survivor pick coming at you as well. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show on the Belly Up Sports Network, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. The promo code is STOVE15 at checkout to get 15% off your purchase. Well, we're a day later than normal, so we weren't able to give you our picks for Thursday night, but it's okay. We've got you ready for Saturday and Sunday and Monday as well of the football weekend here on the Sports Stove Football Show. I'm Vince Stover, joined as I am every week by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. Like I said, we're right in the football season, right? I know high schools are in playoffs now, getting pretty close to state championships in some states. So and we won't be far away from playoffs in college. And of course, every game is set. The NFL is setting up for a really good scramble here at the end for the playoffs. So,
well, we can't forget fantasy football playoffs are only 3 weeks away. So, I mean, everything's rolling up very quickly for sure in the football world. There's no doubt about that. Well, let's get into some college football conversation here as we do this show tonight. Clemson and Louisville are currently playing football. That one is in the first half still. But let's give you 5 games this week that we want to pick. First game up is Notre Dame at Pitt. This game opened the week at 10.5-point favorite for Notre Dame. They're now up to 12.5. It's at Pitt. Pitt is ranked number 22 in the nation. Notre Dame and Pitt have the exact same record at 7-2. Of course, Notre Dame's losses came at the beginning of the season. That being said, Dad, I'm not surprised Notre Dame is the favorite. I'm a little surprised they're that big of a favorite, though, against Pitt. So needless to say, number 9 Notre Dame at number 22 Pitt for an 11 o'clock or noon kickoff on ABC, Dad. Who are you going with in that game?
Well, I think you'll see here are my college picks. I think there's going to be some shakeup this week in the standings and the playoff standings, and I think it'll start with this game. So I'm going to pick Pitt. We've talked about Notre Dame hasn't played a real tough schedule. You've got a team here that has, surprised in some ways, and they're at home. So if there's ever motivation, again, I don't know that Notre Dame will look past anybody at all, but I'm going to go with Pitt on this. I think, like I said, I think 2 or 3 teams are going to shake things up this week.
Okay, wow, I didn't see that one coming. I'm going to go Notre Dame to win. Again, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would probably pick Pitt to cover in this one, but to win, I just can't get myself there. So, and I've been the anti-Notre Dame guy all season long. So I wanted to pick Pitt in this game, but I just don't think they're going to win the game. And you talk about Notre Dame overlooking them. I don't think they can. It's their last, reasonable game here this season. So I'm going to go Notre Dame in this one. All right, Dad, let's head to the SEC. It's Oklahoma at Alabama. Alabama 6.5-point favorites in this one. Still with just that one loss to Florida State early in the year. Oklahoma is now 7-2. This is a big one for Oklahoma. It's still an important one for Alabama, too, because they are undefeated in the conference. But Oklahoma, this is their playoff hopes right here. They have to win this game, I believe, in order to make the playoffs. So this is a big one, but it's at Bama. So, Dad, are you going the Sooners or the Roll Tide in this game?
Well, Alabama has been playing better, and they are at home. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma. I think they've, again, had a good season, and I think they have a chance to surprise here, and I don't know if it'll be a surprise. They've got, they got a good quarterback. They can play. I don't think they'll be overly intimidated in Tuscaloosa. And this is another one that I think will shake things up a little bit. So I'm going to go with Boomer Sooner.
Interesting, man. Again, I look at Alabama coming into the year. I was pretty down on them. I thought they would be a 3 or 4 loss team this year. They obviously have been a lot better than I anticipated. That Florida State game, I just thought that was, just exactly what I was talking about. But then they came alive. Simpson has been so good at quarterback. Oklahoma has been a lot better than I thought they would be too. And, I'm happy for them. We have friends that are Sooner fans. I like the coach, Brent Venables, there at Oklahoma, too. I'm happy for him. But at the end of the day, Dad, I just think, again, Alabama at home, they know what's at stake here, too. They're very, very good. So I'm going to go Alabama in this game as well. But I look at our picks this year, Dad. You're 32-23. This year, which is a very nice percentage on your college football picks this year. So now I'm starting to question my own picks on these picks. But nonetheless, I'll go Alabama. You go Oklahoma. All right, let's go to Iowa at USC. The battle of Big Ten powerhouses, or maybe middle of the houses. Iowa has been stingy all year long. They're 6-3, but man, they've had some really close games against some really good opponents. USC is 7-2. They still have their playoff hopes alive at this point. They have to win this one, of course, to keep those playoff hopes alive. Dad, USC is 6.5-point favorites at home in this one. Do you like the Hawkeyes or the Trojans?
I like the Trojans in this one. Iowa has done real well this year, but again, I think USC has definitely improved and are getting back, to what you think of with USC. And like I said, they still have a lot at stake and they're at home. So I will pick the Trojans.
Interesting. I'm going to go opposite of you again. I'm going to go Iowa in this one. They've been so close in some key matchups this season. And when I look at that and I go, they got to win one of these, right? They lost to Oregon by 2. They lost to Indiana by 5. They beat Penn State by 1. They lost to Iowa State by 3. So I just feel like they're due for another win. It is at USC. If it was in Iowa, I would easily go Iowa here. But I'm going to go Iowa still over USC as the, almost a touchdown underdog in this game. So we're going to stay opposite of each other moving forward. All right, let's go back to the SEC for Texas and Georgia. Texas is a team that has not been what we thought they could be yet. They're still top 10. They're still 7-2. They're still in the playoff race. Georgia at 8-1. We've seen them. They should have lost to Tennessee, but they did not. They're sitting at number 5 right now in the nation. Georgia 6.5-point favorites at home. Dad, do you trust Arch Manning and the Longhorns, or are you going with the steady and true Georgia Bulldogs?
I'm going to go with Georgia in this one, being at home. Georgia has played well, and I think they have, a very strong team. And I think playing at home, Texas has been, they've got great players, but it's been a little shaky at times. And I think going between the hedges here, Georgia's in a good spot. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs.
All right. My mind tells me I need to go with Georgia also, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go with Texas in this game. Texas comes off of a 3-point win over Vanderbilt, which should have been a lot more than that. They let them all back in there towards the end of the game. They had an overtime win against Mississippi State. That wasn't great. They had an overtime win against Kentucky. That wasn't great. But if you go back to the Red River rivalry, or whatever you want to call it these days, they dominated Oklahoma. And I look at it and go, I feel like maybe they've been overlooking some people preparing for these kinds of matchups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trust that Texas, with just 2 games left in the season, or 3 games, excuse me, left in the season, that they are going to come ready and raring to go at Georgia this week. Georgia has been winning. I just don't think they've been that impressive either. So I'm going to go with Texas in this one. I think it's a long shot, but still, for whatever reason, my gut says Texas this week. So I'm going to go Texas. Arch Manning has his game to this week that really makes everyone go, yep, he is who we thought he was. And next season is going to be, it's going to springboard him into next season with the game that he has this week against Georgia. So I'm going to go Texas in this one. All right, last college football game that we're picking this week is Kennesaw State at Jacksonville State. Kennesaw State is 3.5-point favorites on the road. These are 2 teams that I watched when I was in Kentucky, when they were still down in the UAC or in the Atlantic Sun back then. And now they've both moved up to Conference USA. Jacksonville State lost their coach this year, and they're still 6-3. Kennesaw State has both of these teams have great areas to recruit in down there in Georgia. But Dad, Kennesaw State at Jacksonville State, I know neither of us are experts on these teams. I will let you know I'm going with Kennesaw State in this game as the favorites. Who are you going with?
Yeah, when I saw this game, I decided to do a little research. So I looked a little bit at the schedules and who the wins were. And I think Kennesaw State is the pick in this one. So,
yeah, both of these teams, they're actually pretty decent teams. Both teams are good. Both teams have had, like I said, decent seasons so far this year. When you look at them, Kennesaw State had a 1-point loss to Wake Forest and a 40-point loss to Indiana. But the rest of the way, they've looked really solid every step of the way. Jacksonville State, on the other hand, has the 3 losses. They lost by 7 to Central Florida, which was a really good football team. They beat Liberty early in the season. They lost to Georgia Southern, was one they probably shouldn't have lost, to be completely honest with you. So anyways, they got Kennesaw State at home this week, but both of us going with Kennesaw State in that one. Dad, when we look at the playoff race, JMU, James Madison, is now in the running for the playoffs where they currently sit. And that's interesting because the James Madison athletic director has been on this program multiple times. And so good old Matt Roan came from Eastern Kentucky over to JMU a couple years ago, is got things rolling there, continuing through for James Madison. They're in the playoff hunt. The rankings, again, not much to argue about at this point. BYU with the loss drops down to number 12. James Madison is now in the hunt for the playoffs. USF, the South Florida, is in the hunt for the playoffs there as well from the American. And so there's plenty of good things happening going on around there. Big falls for Virginia and Louisville with losses last week. And not really any big jumps, though. So everything kind of holds the same for the playoff race. Anything you want to bring up in the playoff race in college football?
No, like I said, I think it'll take more shape after this week, whether the favored teams, the ranked teams win, then things will be a little more solid. But you got some teams hanging around there with Vanderbilt, Utah. I mean, I know they predicted Miami to win the conference and get in, but I'm not sure how set that necessarily is. And, that could open the door. A couple teams, Virginia, Georgia Tech still in the conference. So, we will see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, conference-wise, you got Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pitt, SMU, and Duke, all at 5-1 or with 1 loss, in the conference. So I still think Georgia Tech is the team to watch out of the ACC over anybody else. SMU is, I think, the best team in the ACC, but their overall record really hurts them right now. So they would have to win the ACC, A Pitt loss this week to Notre Dame would help them have that opportunity. They need Virginia to drop another conference matchup as well. If SMU makes the conference championship, they will win it, and they will be the best ACC team, I think, that is there. All right, let's go to the NFL, Dad, and let's start with our picks in the NFL. And a reminder, today's program is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code STOVE15 for 15% off your purchase. All right, Dad, in the NFL picks, we typically pick 6 games. We do the primetime games, the overseas games, and then we pick whatever we need to fill out the rest of the way. We usually record on Thursdays. We're not able to do that this week, and so I would say we both would have picked New England, right, over to beat the Jets. You weren't going to pick the Jets.
I had picked, of course, the Patriots. I think that was the obvious one. So, we were okay on that.
Travion Henderson finally getting an opportunity. 3 touchdowns in that game for the Patriots. As a fantasy football player and manager, I picked Travion Henderson in every league I was in. I dropped him in one league, have him in the other 3 still, and it's paying off for me finally. Thank you, Travion Henderson. Thank you, Mike Vrabel. Thank you, Patriots. All right, Dan, let's get into our picks this week. Let's start with, let me think. All right, we are down to the Sunday night game. Lions at Eagles this week. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites coming off their win in Green Bay. Not a pretty win, but a win nonetheless. These are 2 of the top teams in the NFC, but primetime in Philly, Dad. Do you like the Lions or the Eagles this week?
It should be a good ball game. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think they can win again. Detroit at times can really be good, but they've, both teams are not as impressive as they were last year, I don't think. But being the Eagles, being at home, I'll go with them.
All right. Dan Campbell's now apparently calling the plays in Detroit for the offense. I wasn't happy with how things were going, so he's taken that over. I just continue to say the Eagles don't look right. Everything that they're doing, and not to say that the Lions do, but the Eagles, every time I've watched them this season, it just doesn't look right. Something's off. A.J. Brown's mad. That Sirianni's already a cuckoo. So, I'm going to go Detroit in this one. I'm kind of in on Detroit right now. I love the fact that they have the safest offense that you can possibly have, having 2 solid running backs and 2 really good receivers. Sam Laporta will be out this week, so they won't have their starting tight end, but they don't consistently throw to him anyhow. So I like Detroit this week. I'm going to take them in the Sunday night matchup. Let's go to Monday night, Dad. Oh, this one's going to be a doozy. Dallas at Las Vegas. The Raiders in this one are home underdogs. Dallas is 3.5-point favorites. Here, really what you're fighting for is a better draft pick in this game here, Dad. Dallas or the Raiders for you this week?
Yeah, we've talked about this draft pick thing, and a lot of teams kind of messed that up last week. So it's going to be interesting to see. But for me, this was an easy pick. Just win, baby, and we'll go with the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders can win right now, but they are playing Dallas, so you just never know. As long as Geno Smith is the quarterback, I'm picking against the Raiders. So give me Dallas this week, and if it wasn't Geno Smith, I might be with you, but I just cannot pick Geno Smith right now. So I will go with Dallas over the Raiders this week. All right, let's cross the sea over to Madrid, Spain this week. And this game in Spain is the Commanders and the Dolphins. Marcus Mariota versus Tua Tagovailoa. Devon Achane has been spectacular this season. And for that reason, I think the run game is crucial when you're overseas. I'm going to go Dolphins this week, Dad, in Madrid. Are you going to go with the Commanders or the Dolphins? Dolphins favored by 2.5, by the way.
I looked at this one and scratched my head for a long time, but I agree. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. They're on a winning streak, so we'll go with them. Washington's having their problems, and you're right about the running back. And all bets are off when you're overseas in the first game here in Spain. So.
Yeah, and Dan Quinn, he's taken over the defensive play call duties in Washington. He's a defensive mind. This should be good for Washington. But like I said, Achane has been so good here this season. If it weren't for Jonathan Taylor, we'd be talking a whole lot about Devon Achane. But Washington beat up, bruised. It doesn't look good there either. Coming off an amazing year last year, doesn't look good this year for Washington. Okay, and now let's go to a couple other games. Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Buffalo 5.5-point favorites at home. Both teams are 6-3, and both teams, quite honestly, need this win pretty badly. So, Dad, at home Buffalo, or are you going to go with the road Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers?
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Like I said, both teams need this, and if they're going to get back on track, they're going to get in trouble here if they don't get back on track. Of course, Buffalo has struggled also, but we'll go with Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers.
Wowzers. I did not see that one coming, Dad. I'm going to go Buffalo in this one, and here's the reason why. Last week, Buffalo gets trounced by the Dolphins 30-13. There's no way they come home and fumble again. Like, they have to win this for so many reasons. And if it weren't at home, I might consider Tampa, but no, Buffalo has to win this one. Give me Buffalo in this game. They've got to keep up with the Patriots. And a win is so badly needed here. They've got the Texans coming up, who are a phenomenal defensive team. Then they've got the Steelers. Then they've got the Bengals before going up against the Patriots. So, this is an important one for them. Give me Buffalo. All right, Dad, last game we're picking this week is the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams. This is for first place in the West. So both teams are 7-2. The Rams at home, 3.5-point favorites with Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua leading the way. Dad, you taking the Seahawks or the Rams in this game?
Well, I've been with the Rams all year, and I'm going to stay with them at home. Seattle's done great, and they could win this one. As far as fantasy football is concerned and the way the bye weeks fell, I really need Sam Darnold to have a good week this week, but I think the Rams will win the game.
Well, both quarterbacks have had a pretty good season so far, and you look at these two teams, and what I see, Dan, is what I've been talking about all year, and that Seattle is the team to beat in the West, and to prove that, they have to win on the road in conference games. So I'm picking Seattle this week. I'm going with Sam Darnold. But listen, I said it, I think last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, as long as Stafford is healthy, that's the key for the Rams. As long as Stafford is healthy, they're going to be fine. But both of these teams, I think, will start to separate themselves from the 49ers, but one of them has to win and one of them has to lose. And I'm picking Seattle to win this game. All right, Dad, let's do our survivor pick this week. Each week we give you a pick that you can use in your survivor pools, and it's presented by Righteous Felon's Soul Survivor flavor. It's a Korean barbecue flavor that you can find at righteousfelon.com, and you'll see it there. Soul Survivor, great packaging, great flavor. You're going to love it. Use the code STOVE15 at checkout to get 15% off your purchase. Dad, who are you going with this week for your survivor pick?
Well, hopefully I can get back on track here. I haven't helped people out with this lately, but tonight we're going with the 49ers over the Cardinals.
The 49ers over the Cardinals. I think that's a pretty safe pick, Dad. I think it's a good one. Conference always scares me a little bit. I'll admit. I get a little worried picking in the conference, but the Cardinals have not been good. So I think that's a pretty solid pick. I have already picked the 49ers, so I cannot pick them again. So I've decided to go, Dad, with one that kind of worries me, but I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm taking the Ravens. They are traveling to Cleveland this week. Dylan Gabriel's not good. The defense is good in Cleveland, and that's what worries me. But I think the Ravens are starting to figure it out. They're making a run for their division as well. They this win goes a long way for them this week. So I'm going with the Ravens this week. And Dad, you are going with the 49ers this week for our Soul Survivor pick presented by Righteous Felon Soul Survivor Flavor. Find it at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code STOVE15 to get 15% off your purchase. Dad, real quick, you picked the 49ers over the Cardinals. They had some quarterback stuff come up recently. Brissett's getting the starts. They're saying it just may be the end of Kyler Murray in Arizona. Is that the right thing for Arizona to do, to go ahead and find a new quarterback and move on from Kyler Murray? Or do you think they should continue to try to figure it out with Kyler Murray?
I think they're at the spot where it's probably better to find somebody new. They don't seem to have the commitment there. Everybody wonders, why he didn't throw to the wide receiver like, people thought. There's just a lot of questions there. And I think, they may be in line for a good draft pick. And so if they could get a good quarterback, Bissett, if they can keep him around, he's proved, maybe to be sufficient. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're in line for the 10th overall draft pick. So a top 10 pick. You look at teams that could be interested in Kyler Murray because they'd have to trade him. And I look at teams, I think of the Jets. I think of who was the other team I was thinking of? Pittsburgh, New Orleans, those kinds of teams that might say, why draft a quarterback? We need to get a veteran in here. We've seen these reclamation projects going on with Mac Jones and others that have Sam Darnold and those kinds of guys. Why not go with a guy like that if you're one of these teams that's, trying to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback next? So, and honestly, Dad, even a team like Houston, where CJ Stroud has been so questionable, to bring him into battle is an interesting idea too. But, or Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow gets hurt all the time. Those kinds of teams could look to trade for Kyler Murray. I think the best thing for the Cardinals is to move on, find themselves a new quarterback, and I think they probably do that this year. Let's see here. Last week, Brian Daboll got fired. Buffalo moves on with Mike Kafka as the New York moves on with Mike Kafka as the new coach. It never panned out, Dad. And the one thing that I said was, when you watch what Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor are doing in Indianapolis, you see what Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley should have done consistently in New York, and that's on Brian Daboll. So he gets fired, and they'll be looking for a new coach here come the offseason. Brian Daboll would be a great offensive coordinator to land in a place like Green Bay, Dad. What do you think about Brian Daboll's future? Is he going to be a head coach again soon, or do you think he kind of goes back to the OC side of things?
I wouldn't think he'd be a head coach right away next year. I would think coordinator would be the place to go, even though potentially he might get a shot again later on. We'll see.
Joe Burrow, speaking of your neck of the woods, says that he'll be back for Thanksgiving. They brought him off the IR, at least back into practices and things like that. Where the Bengals are at right now, the Ravens and the Steelers are battling it out at the top. Steelers are 5-4, Ravens 4-5. Cincinnati is only 2 games back at 3-6 from Pittsburgh. Do you think it's worth it to go ahead and bring Burrow back, or do you think they should just kind of settle in for the best draft pick available?
Well, some of the Bengal fans I've been talking to here feel like they ought to just not playing the rest of the year from there. I think it really depends on his health. If he is totally healthy, then I think it's worth playing, especially the game of Thanksgiving. What's against Baltimore, so they could gain a game. Yeah. I don't think Pittsburgh's gonna end up winning the division. I think Baltimore probably will, but Cincinnati. The other thing about Cincinnati is they just do not have a defense. Right. So maybe it is better to wait till next year. But if he's healthy, giving him a chance to play, it's definitely going to energize things around here if he can play and stays healthy and they do win some games. So we will see. But I think there's a big consensus around here that, hey, don't risk it. And I think if there's any health issues, there's no reason to push it. They're not close enough in the playoff hunt to do that.
Yeah, the deal is you still have 2 more games. So they got Pittsburgh this week and New England next week. If you lose both of those, then you're not catching first place in the division, more than likely. So if they win both of those or even split those, then you're talking more of an opportunity. I think it still depends. Listen, after Thanksgiving, they have to travel to Buffalo. Then they host the Ravens again. Then they travel to Florida for the Dolphins. Then they host the Cardinals, and they close by hosting the Browns. Like, it's just a tough stretch right there. So really, I think if you lose the next 2, I mean, you can play them, but I think you have to think about if he gets anywhere close to ding, then you take him out, right? It's not just we're all in on Joe Burrow. It's let's give him, put him out there, see what happens. Let's also protect him at the same time. The defense, by the way, for the Bengals are just going to be shorthanded this week. Both of their edge rushers are out this week. Hendrickson and Stewart are both going to miss the game against the Steelers. So that's not good news for a defense that already is not very good, needless to say. All right, Dad, real quick, any other games this week in the NFL that you're excited about, get you going? Packers coming off a loss to the Eagles and really a bad game. They play against the Giants. Bengals, Steelers used to be fun. Chargers, Jags, Bears, Vikings, Texans, Titans, Panthers, Falcons. And I think we talked about Chiefs, Broncos going on this week as well. Any game, though, that you go, man, I'd like to tune into that one.
Well, obviously, the Packer game is a big game. They need to win to get back. And the things, if they can win this game, and it'd be good if they look better doing it. But if they win this game, then they're set up here and control kind of their own destiny. The last 7 games, 5 of them are division games. So they can stay in the hunt here a little bit from there. I think the Chicago-Minnesota game will be kind of interesting. I'll keep an eye on that just to see where those 2 teams are. And again, the Chiefs and Broncos should be real interesting, being a division game, being out at Denver. So plenty of good games to watch this week.
Yeah, Chiefs and Denver, that's a big one. If Denver wins that game, the Chiefs are at 500, and that's a pretty big deal because now you're looking at, are they going to make the playoffs? They're currently the 8th team in the AFC, and only 7 make the playoffs. So every loss really hurts Kansas City right now. Denver at 8-2, they don't look like an 8-2 team, but they are 8-2, and they're sitting pretty right now. To be able to really put a blow to Kansas City would be exciting, to say the least. So that'll be a fun one for sure. Minnesota, Chicago. Chicago's coming on too. They're not a Super Bowl team by any stretch, but they're starting to play better. They're starting to, I think, follow their coach a little bit more, and they should beat Minnesota this week as well. So, all right, plenty of fun things going on there. All right, everybody, we appreciate you tuning into this show, by the way. We're usually live on Thursday nights. Next week, we will be live on Thursday night, back to our normal set of schedule. But follow us on social media, at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram. That'll get you all the information you need about the show. You can catch the video portion of the show if you don't get it live. You can catch it on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, and the audio is always available on the Sports Stove Football Show podcast. Then if you go over to our YouTube page, the Sports Stove YouTube channel, what you're going to find there is tons of draft coverage. We got the latest midseason mock draft up right now over there on the YouTube channel, as well as other things going on, mostly around the 2026 NFL draft. So check that out. Make sure you check out our sponsor, Righteous Felon Jerky, at righteousfelon.com. The promo code is STOVE15 to get 15% off your purchase. Thanks for tuning into this edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.